Well, welcome into the Johnson City Small Business Podcast. We're all about connecting the folks of our great town, Johnson City, to our small business owners here. I'm your host today, Ryan McKinney. Thanks for listening. I'm going to adjust this mic a little bit. Today, I would like to welcome Ryan White to the show. Not Ryan White, Ryan White. He's the owner of Common People Barber Company here in Johnson City. So Ryan, welcome in. Thanks for being here, bud.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this for a little while.
Yeah, so I want to get some questions about running a small business in Johnson City, and what that looks like and what you guys do and what you do. Also, though, just kind of tell folks before we get to talking about business, tell folks a little bit about yourself and where you're from, where you grew up, and then we'll talk some business stuff too.
Okay, cool. As you mentioned, my name is Ryan White. I live now here in Johnson City, and I grew up in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I came up here to go to school at Milligan once 17. I was 17 and ended up just staying in the area after going to school, getting my business degree, my education degree, so I could be a teacher as well. Met my wife here and was lucky enough to have opportunities as soon as school was over and started working at Elizabethton High School. So now I'm in my 10th year. And I also do lessons, as you know, at RBI Tri-Cities, another Johnson City business, and doing the sole entrepreneur, sole proprietorship, doing barbering as well now. So doing a little bit of everything.
That's right. Renaissance man, I think they call him now. 17 years old. Was that early for you to come up here to college, or was that planned, or was that just you just had a
I was
late
just young
birthday?
for my grade, I think. Yeah. A September birthday.
What was it about Milligan? We got some folks that listen from out of town. What was it about Milligan and this area that kind of drew you up here, where most people think that the state of Tennessee stops in Knoxville?
Yeah.
You may have thought that too back then.
Actually, I did till I was a senior in high school. But actually, I had a next door neighbor that I didn't even know where Milligan was at, but he played baseball at Milligan actually as well, that I grew up down the road from, and that was the first I'd heard of it. But obviously, I didn't know very much about it, and was lucky enough to have several offers coming out of high school and have the opportunity to make a decision. And Milligan just really stood out to me because of the combination of allowing me to play early on as compared to some of the other places that I was looking at. And also I think the rankings still reflect that it's the second best school in Tennessee behind Vandy as far as academics go. And then on top of that, I was looking for somewhere to be a little bit away from home, but not too far away from home. And so I was able to grow up and be a man and become a lot stronger in my faith. And, Milligan was really good in helping me just have structure as a human, really.
Yeah. So you came up here, played some ball?
Yep. 2009 to 2012.
And what position did you play?
So, coming out of high school, I played shortstop, but then I moved over to third base when I got to Milligan, and ended up actually playing 1 year of outfield just because I had I tore my labrum and my throwing shoulder 2 weeks before the season started.
Yeah.
And with the current personnel that we had on our team, I basically ended up just having to. I was going to DH and stuff and stick it out, but I ended up having to play a position because still somehow we had someone on our team that needed to be a DH more than a guy with a torn labrum. So
the guy that just walked into the second baseman and throw it underhand.
So I was able to still play doing that and end up having surgery after the season and stuff, but then came back to the infield for my senior year. Cool. So yeah,
finished at third.
I finished at second because the arm was
not able to throw it across,
hanging on. Yeah.
Bunch of good players coming through Milligan that we played with we got to know pretty well. Pat Gould and DB Dustin Barrett, of course Dustin Price, and those guys. We're all 10 years older than you, so But it's a great opportunity, I think, to hear about sports and people's background, because I feel like so much of what we learn as athletes translates into life. And so, kind of unpacking that a little bit, like what did you take from baseball, and especially at the collegiate level, that you've used in running a business?
Gosh, I mean, I think the same things carry over in terms of the structure, the routines, the consistency, like especially in baseball. Like what I love about baseball is there's an individual battle at all times going on within a team game. You know,
Mhm.
it's the only game where the defense has the ball. And so, you know, when you're in the batter's box or you're on the pitcher's mound or whatever you're doing, like it's on you
Yeah.
and nobody's going to be able to do it for you. So the work that you put in shows up. And you know, obviously there's things that are team concepts within that game, but ultimately, if you don't care about it and put the work in, then it's going to show. And the same thing happens with the business. Like nobody's going to care about it more than you.
Mhm.
And especially in a sole proprietorship, like doing it by yourself solo, if you don't care about it, then how can you expect anybody else to? So just being extremely detail oriented, extremely, um, you know, extremely disciplined in the moves that you make and how well thought out they are. I mean, that's a lot like, you know, being a player as well, right?
Yeah.
You know, baseball is tough because you get all that time to think in between at bats,
Right.
you know, and you got to think through things and be a cerebral um, guy to be a good player.
Sure. And we fail a lot in baseball, right? I mean, 7 out of 10 times you're not getting a hit. And so, how is dealing with adversity in that game kind of turned into a philosophy, or how you handle adversity in business?
I think that as soon as you think you have it all figured out,
Yeah,
like life is going to show you that you don't.
sure.
And that's no more evident in baseball than than it is anywhere. But business is the same way. Like I have a business degree and I teach business at a high school level, but there's things literally that I learn every day and go, "Oop, didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Didn't think about that. Need to make an adjustment on that." So the adversity of constantly having to make adjustments and now in real time in a business is exactly the same as making adjustments whenever you're failing a lot.
sure. So tell people a little bit about your business.
Right. So, Common People Barber Company
Mhm.
is a mobile barbering business.
Say that again.
It is a mobile barbering business,
Okay.
meaning that I do house calls. I'll come to your office and cut your hair. Wherever you need me to be, I have the ability to do that. And I also do after hours cuts here at CS McCullough's in downtown Johnson City.
Mhm.
So I try to make myself available in a wide array of areas, but I know that just especially me finishing up from school and COVID and seeing that the safety factor, the convenience factor, like that's like king right now
Yeah.
in our society.
Frictionless.
Absolutely. So I'm just trying to put myself in a position to be flexible. And it actually works well in my favor too. It's not any more work for me because I have a full-time job.
Mhm.
I do it because I love it and it's fun and, you know, all the other things that we're going to get into. But yeah, mobile barbering, house calls, office calls, whatever.
How did you decide on, like, were you cutting hair on the halls of Hart Hall or Pardee and all
um,
those
no,
famous halls at Milligan
I
College,
didn't cut
or
any hair in the girls' dorms, no.
how did
But
you say? I didn't know. I think my dad used to live in one of those
in the
back in the
girls' dorm, yeah,
70s.
I'm just kidding.
Um, what
I think
how
every
did that come
college
about?
baseball, every
Yeah, I
college
mean, I
baseball team
agree.
has some guy that's like,
So I was talking
"Hey,
to Greg
buddy."
Charles about, I mean, they were doing it for the football team. We were doing it for the baseball team. You just hair all over the floor.
I didn't do it a ton, but I messed around with it a little bit.
Okay.
And it was one of those things that even before I went to barber school, I messed around with it a little bit as well.
Mhm.
And obviously, nobody's first haircut's very good. It just is what it is. You think it's good at the time. You're like, "Oh, I'm kind of good." And
Right.
I look back at it now, I'm like, "Oh my God, my friends are such good friends. Like,
Gotcha.
they're
Yeah.
nice." So,
Loyal.
but yeah, I think there was some sort of when you pick up a pair of clippers or you pick up a bat or you pick up a tennis racket or whatever you decide to do, and if you fall in love with it, it doesn't matter if it's a paintbrush or whatever, a camera, there's almost a connection with it.
Yeah.
There's like a spark you almost feel with it. Like you feel like, oh, that feels comfortable. Like that I can see myself enjoying this or progressing from
you were
this.
feeling that just like as you're kind of messing around amateur hour cutting
Yeah.
people's hair. How about that?
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't good. Like I said, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
I did not do some good haircuts to start with, but
Nobody starts out master barber.
that's true. But yeah, I think there was something there of like me being able to find, like I look at things in a very artistic way a lot of times too. Like I find beauty in a lot of things that shapes and angles and just buildings, and I can just walk around in a downtown. It's one of my favorite things to do, and just look around at the world around me, the creation that's around me, and look at those type of things. And that's the way I look at a haircut too. So I could see these things when I was cutting hair, like, oh, okay, if I did this, then that would come out this way. Or, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So why mobile? Why what drew you to as a business model? What took you there down that route?
So with the fact that I'm not cutting as many heads of hair as
Mhm.
like, say, someone that does it full time, I wanted to do a couple things. One, I wanted to make sure that I decreased like any and all overhead that I could,
Smart.
because of the fact that if I'm not paying booth rent, if I'm not paying, big time, things like that, like somebody that would work full time. So I had to find a way that cut a lot of that out. And if it's just me and there's nobody else in the business, then that's another way to cut it out, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, you track some mileage and some gas and things like that, but I punch it in my QuickBooks app
Yep.
and just write it off anyways, as far as my mileage goes. So it was a good fit for me, and it allowed me to have a flexible schedule. It wasn't something I had to sit at the barbershop for like 4 hours and
Yeah.
just wait for people to show
Walk
up.
in. Yeah.
And my time is very valuable because I don't have a ton of it. So I want to make sure that I maximize that time. This is a good formula.
So describe what that looks like when you come to our house. Like I remember mom cutting our hair outside in the driveway with a sheet over us, maybe a towel and a lawn chair. What's your experience like?
Yeah. So like I think it's really important, number one, in anything, be on time. Like
Mhm.
do what you say you will do. If you say you're be somewhere, do something, make sure that expectation of whatever you give is up front. So I talk about my pricing like up front, especially for somebody that's new,
Yep.
about what to expect, how it's going to be set up. I bring my own lighting, any kind of equipment that I need. Obviously, I have it all by myself. I do my very best to use all cordless stuff, so there's no whatever, my own cape. Like, honestly, it's not going to feel a whole lot different than being in a barbershop outside of being in a barbershop.
Yeah.
Um, so,
What
and
kind of
most of the time,
chair? What kind of chair are people sitting in?
so like I will talk to them, and that's the biggest struggle. Like if somebody out
Sure.
there does this, like I would love to see it, but I've done a ton of research. There's not a good portable
Barber
barber
chair.
chair. There's not. But if you're doing something and it's just, a 30-minute haircut or so, if you can get a decent office chair, I have a stool that, spins around at least, and you can pump up and pump down and things like that. But no, I would love, if anybody out there has suggestions on that, I'd love a better
Let's go make that.
model on that.
Let's go do that.
Yeah, Colin said to bring a inflatable chair. I was like, Colin, I don't know if that screams premium.
Exactly. So when you start thinking about like, all right, what's next year look like? What's the year after? What's your vision for the company?
So, like, I think number one, and it's not incredibly specific, but one thing I did put down is to like this is 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever, is to never let what I'm good at define like who I am. And I know that doesn't sound like a business goal, but like if that doesn't stay at the forefront of my mind, me personally, then I feel like I'm not doing it with the passion and the purpose that I should. And that has to be at the forefront for me. So like not letting that define who I am or find my identity wrapped up in things that I'm good at.
Mhm.
But I would say like within 5 years, like I honestly want to become like an educator or an ambassador with a company, on top of having my own company. I've actually had conversations with a couple companies companies already, from some of the past things I've been involved with about going to cut with them and their team, or promote some of their stuff on social media,
Mhm.
or create content that helps them and helps me as well. And that would be something I'd want to accomplish within 5 years. Like within 10 years, I'd like to create something new. And I have some different ideas. And when I say create something new, I mean like a product that I can introduce to the barbering industry that can produce passive income.
Mm.
So I think, you know, when you come into an industry and you're new, you have a fresh set of eyes on something, and
Absolutely.
you look at something and you're like, why is this not a thing yet?
Mhm.
So I'm actually like sketching some things out now, and I work with like the 3D modeling class at our school. I'm like trying
Nice.
to put some things together right now, honestly, so that I can have something I can put a patent on, have something that I can, sell over and over, like as a repeat item, that I can just ship out when people make orders and things like that for that helps the barbering industry at the same time. And then in 15 years, even though it sounds crazy to say 15 years,
It's unbelievable. Be here before we know it.
no doubt. For me, I want to do something to revolutionize our downtown. I think that I won't even go into it too big in detail, but I think that our population needs to grow, and I need time to raise capital in order to do it, to execute this particular idea. But I'll leave it at the fact that I think we need something that will anchor our downtown even more. Like it's growing,
Hmm.
but if I looked at you right now and I was like, what anchors our
Right.
downtown? I don't know the answer. And maybe you do. I don't. But I
Yeah.
do. I love our downtown. I spend a ton of time down there. That's not to say anything bad about it at all. But I'm just saying I think there's I think there's more out there.
There's opportunity,
Hmm.
no doubt. And I know a lot of those conversations are being had in the same rooms that you're in, and the people that you're talking to, probably even people you're cutting hair with too.
For sure.
What's your obviously the mobile side of that business is a huge value proposition for folks. How do you um, relay that to people, and how do you explain that to people, and what other value proposition do you come with when you're discussing why people should give you a call and have you come out and cut their hair on with the mobile?
So I think that it fits really good for the convenience part, fits really almost best even for families or groups or neighbors that want to do it together. Because when I go to a lot of houses, I usually cut 4 or 5 people at that same house,
Yeah.
and I charge one service fee to do that. And then the haircuts are all the same price. So if I cut 5 heads of hair in one household and I charge a $30 service fee on top of the haircut, that only adds $6 to each haircut. And I think most people would be willing to say that for $6 to not have to
Man,
make an appointment,
come to the house,
come sit at the shop. Yeah, they don't have to leave.
park, drive.
Right.
I mean,
Like
how much is your time worth? Not having to drive 12, 15 minutes across town.
for $6.
Right.
And so the more people in one household or a family, or like I said, even in a neighborhood, sometimes it's a good fit. So I'll have things where, say a dad gets his haircut up first, and he'll move over to the kitchen table and be putting together dinner,
Hmm.
or, working on something for work with his laptop or whatever. And then the next son is sitting in the chair, or the neighbor is sitting in the chair or whatever. Right. So, I mean, I think it's extremely valuable in the sense of like how I have it set up with only charging one service fee to come to you. And it's beneficial for me too, because I don't have to go to other houses that way as
Right.
well.
Yeah.
So that would be my biggest value proposition. But I would also say that like I mentioned earlier, I look at each haircut in an artistic way, and I look to try to tailor it to that person. So I really take pride in the consultation that I have with somebody, in the conversation, the relationship that I build with you. Like I want that haircut to reflect not only like your head shape and your facial features and make you look the best you can, but I also want it to reflect like the job that you have and the person and the confidence that you want to portray. And I think a lot of time we fall into like a cookie cutter approach. Like,
Hmm.
here's how you do a fade. Here's how you do this haircut. Here's how you do a comb over. Like, and not to say that there's anything wrong
Sure.
with that, but I think when you are paying like a premium price for something, you shouldn't receive, a cookie cutter approach to it.
Absolutely.
The other thing I try to do is like it makes it a VIP experience because everything I do is one on one, right? And a lot of people, they go to a barbershop for a good conversation and this and that.
Yeah.
But if they're also like less willing to share and open up and build a relationship when there's 10 other people
That's a good
there.
point. Yeah.
So I find a lot of joy, and I think my friends do too that sit in my chair in being able to sit down and have a conversation, and it's just me and them.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, it's a safe space and open environment, and you can talk to them about whatever you need to talk about.
Absolutely. So looking at, you're looking at influencer marketing.
Mhm.
You're looking at designing product. What else is trending in barber world that you're like, you know what, this is, I mean, I think most obviously is on the front edge. What else is out there? What's kind of trending to that you're keeping your eye on?
Well, I want to start by saying, don't let anybody tell you that a mullet's trending. Okay. I cut plenty of them, and if you want to hit me up, I will do my very
Do a
best to
mullet?
cut a mullet for you as well. But I do think those will fade out soon.
Got it. That's on the edge of the trend out. Got it.
That's just my opinion. But what I think is, there's a shift back to it being cool and necessary for a man to take care of himself.
Mm-hmm.
It is cool to be well groomed. It is necessary. It is there's a focus and a shift back to that for the modern man or the classic man or whatever you want to whatever have you. And I think that I also see like a big focus on relationships, and I see a big focus on barbers being advocates for like mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's super important. Like I said, the one-on-one experience that I try to provide, and I think a lot of barbers do a good job of trying to provide is when you're a barber, just like a teacher or a coach or whatever, you're not just a barber, a teacher, or a coach. You're a therapist. You're a
Yes.
listener.
Yeah.
You're a friend. You hear everything going on in town. You can give advice. Like you get all people from all walks of life sitting in your chair, so you can gain a lot of knowledge from just sitting and listening to people, and then being able to give that same thing back to somebody else. And a lot of times, it's not even you talking; it's just you listening.
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest two trends I would say as far as where barbering's heading.
I am fascinated is not the right word. I'm always curious and concerned for mental health, right? And I agree, like having conversation with Craig and number of barber buddies and guys and girls, and it's like, that, like you said, it's a safe space a lot of times. Like, where do you where do you point the people to? How do you help that individual when they're needing assistance?
Well, I mentioned earlier, like the barber wears multiple hats.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say that a barber should be a therapist. I
No, I
think
get
what's
it.
important though to understand is like that you don't know everything, but
Yeah.
you do want to be able to look for signs of things that um people are going through and know the difference between saying, "Ron, just break up with that girl, dude. Come on,
Yeah.
she's no good." And the difference between that and, "Hey man, I know somebody that is in this line of work. Do you mind if I give you their phone number and just pass this along and let you talk to them?" Knowing when to get out of the way too.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I guess it's easier for me possibly because I do it with teenagers all day as a high school
Sure.
teacher.
Yeah.
Um, but in everybody's problems are relative to them. So just because a teenager is upset about something that you and I would be like, dude, that's no big
Yeah, I
deal.
get it.
You know, it's just if you can, it's more not even what they're saying. It's like how passionate or how emotional it makes them feel, or however they're feeling about it. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
So if I had someone that I felt was beyond like my realm of
Scope.
talking to
Yeah.
somebody, yeah, scope, then I would just make sure that I point them in the right direction towards getting them some help.
It's cool. How do people connect with you, with your company? How do they get in touch with you? They say, "Oh man, that sounds amazing. I want to get this
Yeah.
mobile haircut. coming out here to work or coming to the neighborhood, how do they get in touch with you? Where are they going to find you? Follow your stuff.
Cool. So I'm on Instagram at the Common People Barber, and I don't care to give my phone number out as well. If you want to text or call, it's 865-805-2776. So either of those are great. A lot of people just send me a text or a call, but a lot of people send me a DM on Instagram after they've, made sure that I didn't butcher too many people on there.
Sliding into your DMs.
Yeah, that's something like that.
Well, that's cool. Well, Ryan, that about wraps up our time together here today on the Johnson City Small Business Podcast.
Almost.
All right.
I don't know what your time limits are here, but
I'm
I do
good.
this to everybody that I come on a podcast
Okay.
with because
What you got?
I don't ever want. I am so thankful to be on here and you allow me this time today, but it's important that if I'm going to be who I say I am, that I make sure that you are
Sure.
answering some questions too, that people get to know the man behind the mic.
I think it's the second time been interviewed. Go ahead.
Was the other one on the show?
No, well, I visited Colin over there on the Johnson City Living podcast.
He stole it from me then.
Also held here on Market Street Media Forum.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Rapid fire questions, and here's what's great.
Good luck.
Okay, you ready? I just got a nice text through my phone.
Okay.
I have all the answers to these questions of what your wife thinks you'll answer them as.
Oh.
Are you nervous yet?
Yeah.
You're sweating. Yes. I love it.
Oh, man.
All right, here's the first question. So
yeah.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you the question, let you answer it,
Okay.
and then I'm going to tell you what Sarah thought she would say.
All right, let's hear it.
First one is, what is one underrated thing that says the most about someone? So, like, to give you an example, mine is like leaving your grocery cart in a random parking space, just thrown out somewhere in the middle of Publix or whatever. So what's your underrated thing that says the most about someone?
I guess it would be, the Bible talks about how you treat the least of these. So I think it would be how you treat what society perceives as the least of these and how you make them feel and how you add value to them.
That's a good one. Okay, so here's what Sarah said. Ryan will always make comments about opening doors for people and opening a passenger door for a lady.
That's a good point.
But it does kind of
that
falls
is
in that same realm, though, if you don't know who you're opening the door for. So
yeah, that's a very good point. But yeah, I mean, it's religious opening the door for your wife when she's getting in the car.
Chivalry is not dead.
Not for my wife.
Okay. 2.
Yeah.
What one thing would you change about yourself?
Boy, let's go like super transparent. I wish I was more confident.
Okay.
There we go.
Well, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you feel more confident. I would really like to tell you something that would be mean right here because it would be fitting, but that's because your wife said, I think he is perfect. So this one is so hard for me. So I would say nothing.
Oh, man. I'll give her $20.
Oh, that's great. And this was like, she just sent this text with buzzer right here.
All right.
So number 3, name 2 items you can't live without.
I'll give you, well, they're not items, but 4 people. So my family, but I could live without any item. So.
Okay. It's funny for me because I had to read these while you're going with this. She said peanut butter and his glasses, and he just and he just got them and he can't read his text.
Yeah, thanks. Caleb Hunt. Optometrist here in town.
Okay.
Yeah, peanut butter. Yeah. I mean, spot on right there.
That's so funny.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's hit 40 in my line. It was 40 2 years ago, and it was like, I can't read a thing.
Well, I understand. I've had contact since 5th grade, so I understand. The next one, worst haircut you've ever had?
No comment because my mom listens to the podcast.
Oh God.
Probably, I think there was probably one. And, especially as a kid, it doesn't matter. But like as a professional, I know probably the place, so I'm not going to name it, but going to one of the places because I, needing a quickie and just walking out and being like, I just wasted $50. So, but
It's
one of
funny
those.
because your wife said, I don't want to name the place. But she said just what you said right there. But she said they made his hair really short, almost like, well,
Yeah.
now they just shaved it, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Could have done that at home.
What supply in your house is always running low?
Food in the fridge. Easily.
Yeah, she said groceries.
Yeah.
And we use the Instacart now all the time.
That's it. Yeah. So,
I also consulted with Reed Casey on this one.
Oh, yeah.
And Reed said cheese and limes. We don't have to talk about it, but we can talk about it maybe after the show.
That's good.
Isn't that great?
No, we won't.
Number 6.
Yeah.
What is a talent you have that most people don't know about?
Dude, I'm a great dancer. People do not know that about me.
Really?
Yeah. Hip hop.
So you're a good plus one?
No, no, probably not.
To take to a wedding? Or
We're great. We are great at weddings. If you guys want the McKinneys to come hang out and get people on the dance floor, we can do that for you.
That's exactly how I'd answer that question too for myself, believe it or not. And what's funny is your wife said, I don't know if he's talented at it, but he loves to dance. And then she said, wait a minute, he's actually pretty good at it.
Really?
That's so funny.
When people tell you, and maybe they're just trying to make you feel good. I don't know. Maybe you're so bad they just like to keep you doing it, like a lane on Seinfeld for you.
Yeah,
over 40 folks.
You got it.
Just keep doing it. That's so great.
Well, it's funny because to me, it's funny that you said about confidence being something you would change, but I would imagine that it takes a ton of that to do that at a wedding or just any public place. And last question is top movies.
For love of the game.
Okay.
Field of Dreams. We just introduced Carter and Grady and Mallory to Field of Dreams when they had that baseball, the White Sox-Yankees game. So the next day we watched Field of Dreams. So it rekindled that love for that movie. Probably those two. Sports movies. The Miracle. That's great. But yeah, pretty much those two are definitely tops for love of the game. Is great.
Well, I know that you and Sarah, it seems as if you should have been on the Newlyweds Game because she says Field of Dreams or anything baseball.
Interesting.
She's literally like rocked this out. She got like 6, maybe 5 or 6 out of the 7.
Well, don't forget, 17 years of marriage and 5.5 years of dating. So if a movie's on TBS and it's Field of Dreams, and it's getting to stay on our TV for a while. So
that's really cool. That's awesome.
It's probably because I was pretty pumped when it happened on, the game happened, and she went to that Alabama concert when it was at Bristol, and so we rented Field of Dreams, so I was pretty stoked about that. So that was fun. That was great.
Cool, man. I don't have any bonus questions for you. No more surprises. You can wipe your brow.
Stop sweating now.
Yep.
A little bit of pressure. Thanks, man. That was fun.
Cool.
Well, guys, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to the podcast. These are the kind of folks that we like to have on here and just have a good time and let you all learn about some of the small businesses here in Johnson City that you can connect with. So also subscribe to the podcast and make sure to check out Doing Good with Josh Smith and Dr. Becky Powers. They're hosted here on the Market Street Media platform as well. And of course, special thanks to Market Street Media and Leighton Hart over there coming in late on a Friday to hang out with us. And he's always responsible for romancing your ears. And this is the Johnson City Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McKinney. And until next time, keep living your life by design.